Alright, so we do have some breaking news and good news for all Barcelona fans. It has been reported by Javi Miguel that the doctors have assured to Xavi Hernandez that in principle Frenkie De Jong will be available for the first leg against PSG. The recovery from his sprained ankle is very positive and everything indicates that he will be 100% fit for the match against PSG. And so look, again like I've said, it is good news because this match between PSG and Barcelona, this game is so anticipated by many Barcelona fans because there were serious doubters in the match against Napoli. Many were saying Napoli is going to win Barcelona. Barcelona have no business being in the quarterfinals. And now that Barcelona have beaten Napoli, now Barcelona is going to the quarterfinals, going up against PSG, and yet again there are still doubters. Now of course there is going to be doubters. There is going to be people betting on PSG only because they have Kylian Mbappe, they have Dembele, they have Luis Enrique, who is a great coach and has coached Barcelona before. But in the end, Barcelona can do the most damage and against any opponent if those players do believe that they can bring good results. And most importantly, the squad needs to be healthy and mentally prepared for anything, because if they can do those two things, they can reach very big levels. And so it's huge to hear that Frenkie will be returning for the match against PSG, because with Frenkie, Barcelona is a much better team. And I cannot wait, because remember, there was this story about a week ago stating that Barcelona without Frenkie De Jong is a better team, that Frenkie De Jong makes Barcelona worse. That was the story. That was the narrative coming from our own Barcelona fans and even some people outside of Barcelona. But this will be the game where Frenkie De Jong will prove to the world that he is a generational talent. As for the other players, Cancelo is also going to be returning because it says here, according to Fabrizio Romano, that after being checked for any heart problems related to a family member's recently discovered heart condition, Joao Cancelo has been cleared to return for football activities. And now he is back. And that was the reason why Cancelo was not even there for the game against Atletico Madrid, because he was scared, because he saw that many other family members had heart conditions and he just wanted to be in the safe area. So Cancelo would also be back. As for Christensen, we never really get to talk about this in this YouTube channel, but Christensen did not go to the international break. He's not going to be representing Denmark within these next upcoming matches. He is currently at Barcelona, and at Barcelona to get some rest, which ultimately means that in the game against PSG, we're going to be having Cancelo, Christensen, and Frenkie, three players that we did not have against Atletico Madrid. So we're definitely going to be seeing a huge upgrade. As for Pedri, Pedri is still unlikely to make it for the match. Most likely he'll make it for the second leg against PSG, but we'll see. I think that with Christensen and Frenkie in the double pivot positions with Gundogan as an 8, that is more than enough. That is a midfield that can definitely deal with the threat of PSG. And I've always said, right, Christensen has been so monumentally successful in the pivot position that it does affect Pedri and his minutes. It makes Pedri's importance much less. It has also been explained that Christensen has been so impressive that they're not even planning on letting go of the player in the summer. They want to keep him for next season because he is in the next season's plans. Now, this does not rule out Barcelona buying a new central defensive midfielder. Barcelona will still go for one because they think that if Christensen ever does get injured, they do need a backup, and Christensen can be the backup to our new central defensive midfielder. What Xavi finds so interesting is that he's versatile and even had conversations with him that he can play as a lone pivot. So I analyzed PSG recently, and the one conclusion that I got is that Kylian Mbappe is still a very much dangerous player. The players know how to get the best out of Mbappe and they make a lot of space for him. And what's crazy is that Mbappe only needs about 1 to 2 seconds to make a quick decision to score a goal. He does not need a lot of space at the end of the day. So maybe once Mbappe does go up against Barcelona, we might not win him in 1v1 duels. We may not win that battle, but I do think that if Barcelona can take the ball away from PSG as a whole, as a collective, and we retain the ball in the very best way possible and attack over and over again, we can beat PSG. We just have to play like a true unified team. And I really wonder what side Araujo is going to be playing on. I don't know if he's going to be playing as a right center back or as a left center back, because remember, Kylian Mbappe will play on the left side. Having Koundé as the right back with Araujo as the right center back would really cover Kylian Mbappe's danger. But then again, you have Cancelo on the left side, and usually when Cancelo does go up to attack with the ball, you need a player behind him to take on the space that Cancelo is going to be leaving. Araujo is usually that player. But in this case, if Araujo is going to be on the right side in the center back position, Kubarsi is going to have to take care of those areas. And to be honest, I do feel very confident that Kubarsi can take care of Cancelo's area when he does leave it and he does go on to the final third. Looking at his confidence and the momentum that he's building for himself, I do trust him in that back line. So in the end, with all of these players returning, I do assume that our starting 11 will look something like this. Ter Stegen in goal, Koundé, Araujo, Kubarsi, and Cancelo in the back line, with Andreas Christensen, Gundogan, and Frenkie De Jong in the midfield, and then our front three being Rafinha, Lewandowski, and Lamine Yamal. I do see Joao Felix coming in later in the match against PSG as a super sub. I hope, for some reason, I know this is going to sound a little random, but I hope that PSG does put out a toxic environment for Joao Felix and they say, like screw Joao Felix, or they do something, they create an agenda, because for some reason, Joao Felix likes to perform in very toxic environments, just like how he performed against Atletico Madrid when they were booing him. And I'm also going to be assuming that once we do go into the match against Las Palmas, which is the game before PSG, a lot of these players that I have just named will be rested or be taken out early in the game once Barcelona put the game away as fast as possible, which should always be our main idea. Now, I do want to move on towards the next conversation and talk about Amadou Onana. Now, let me give you guys some context here. I did state in my most previous video that Zubimendi and Nico Williams should be the two players that Barcelona should go for. That is our priority. If Barcelona want to be successful next season, you buy Zubimendi and you get Nico Williams. We don't know how Zubimendi does view Barcelona, but of course, whatever we have been hearing regarding Zubimendi and how he does view moving away from his current club, of course he's going to be saying that in the middle of the season. He does not want to be disrespectful at all and break up the environment that he's currently in. Look at what happened with Alex Garcia and Girona. He did state a few months ago that he wanted and would love a move to go to Barcelona, and the coach and the fans were mad with the fact that Alex Garcia had to say something like that in the middle of the season. And now look at Girona. They lost some sort of momentum. So with Zubimendi and his team, I know that they are focused and they're not willing to talk about anything else but themselves and talk about their success because they want to secure a spot in the Europa League next season. And I'm sure that Zubimendi would love to have his home team that he has been with, Real Sociedad, go into the Europa League next season. It would be huge for the player himself. Now, if Zubimendi does not get signed, and we hear in the summer that Zubimendi was really serious about what he meant, that he does not want to go anywhere, that he wants to stay there. If he truly believes that, then yes, one of the other options that Barcelona could go for is Amadou Onana. Onana already knows that Barcelona do see him as a very strong option, and he does put Barcelona as one of his priorities if he does leave Everton in the summer. He's also extremely excited on the possibility of joining Barcelona, and he would also be willing to wait for Barcelona as long as he can in the summer because he knows that Barcelona are going to be taking some time to complete certain operations because of the restrictions, but Onana is willing to wait. Everton, though, they do value Onana at 60 million euros. This is a price tag that Arsenal would be willing to pay because they're also interested in the player. Now, if Everton do get relegated to the second division, his value is going to decrease by 40 million euros. Whether it's 40 or 60 million euros, Barcelona do see this as a lot of money, and so they're going to try and include a certain player to Everton to reduce the cost. So Barcelona are thinking about either using Lenglet or Dest or Ansu Fati in this operation. Someone like Fermin Lopez is completely ruled out according to Tony Juan Morty. So it's a very tricky operation, and in my opinion, I can't really tell you who Barcelona are going to be putting in if they do decide to put in a player in the operation, because I don't see Ansu Fati going to Everton. I don't see Dest going to Everton because he does seem like he's at a perfect fit with PSV. The only one that does make sense is Lenglet, and Lenglet does have experience playing in the Premier League, so I can see Everton saying yes to this, but again, we'll see. And I was comparing Zubimendi, Andreas Christensen, and Onana on this graph here, as we always do, and as you can see here, Onana is very much superior than Zubimendi and Christensen in defensive actions. And the reason why I'm not putting Frenkie De Jong in this graph is because we're not here to talk about who can be the replacement for Frenkie. Frenkie for sure will be a starter, and he just needs a great suitor, right? A great partner in the double pivot. That is why we are only comparing Zubimendi, Christensen, and Onana. And as you can see here, Onana again seems much more defensive compared to Zubimendi and Christensen, and that is exactly what Frenkie De Jong does need in order for him to get the freedom to go up and create some goal scoring chances. So you can see why Barcelona would very much be interested in the player, because Onana is a ball stealer. And I want you guys to also keep an eye on the dual success rate. You can see that he is better than both players, Zubimendi and Christensen, because also if you look at the graph here, his dual success ratio has improved a lot from last season. So everything that he has been doing this season really caught the eye of Barcelona, which is why they're looking at him and saying, this is a great player that can win us balls in the middle of the pitch. So football wise, he is a great player. I can see why Barcelona would be interested in him. Keep in mind that he is 6'4". He's really tall. He's probably going to be taller than most of the center backs that Barcelona have currently. He's very comfortable with receiving possession in deep areas also. This is what Onana had to say a few weeks ago about his current position. Me playing deeper definitely suits me. I think my performances have done the talking. I feel way more comfortable in that position and I'm enjoying it. But in a very humble way, I feel I can do it all. I have abilities that allow me to feel comfortable in any position in the midfield. I'll take whatever role the gaffer gives me. Then he continues, there there are more experienced players than me and the players across the league I can learn a lot from. You can never learn enough. There's always room for improvement, and so I do like the type of attitude he does bring to the game. He's always willing to learn. He's young and he knows that. He knows that he has great traits in his disposal already, but he knows that he can be even better. Because look, he's 22 years old. Of course, if he goes to a team like Barcelona, he's going to be growing as a player. Let's also keep in mind that his mentality is elite because his whole life, according to many of the sources that have studied Onana's background, his story has been about rejection. Many people, when he was at the age of 11, were saying that he was not good enough to join the academy that was taking place in Belgium. It was said that some of the feedback that was given to him between those ages of 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 was so bad that he, at that age, was using that type of feedback to get even better. This is what he said to The Athletic. "I'm the only one who believed in myself. Growing up as a young player, people doubted me, saying I wasn't good enough and was never going to make it. It's crazy. Why would they say something like that to me? As a teenager, it hurts because you're not mature enough to understand certain aspects of life." And as you can see, today, he is playing in the Premier League, one of the most important players of Everton. So it's exciting to hear about this player and the fact that he wants to go to Barcelona if the chance does arrive. So I would definitely consider him as one of our options to reinforce the defensive midfield position. Now, if you guys have made it this deep into the video, the next player that we are going to be talking about that Barcelona is eyeing, but is not in the top contenders, it is going to be Mats Wiefer, a player that has been seen as a more defensive version of Frenkie De Jong. So it's going to be very exciting. I cannot wait to make that video. That will be a video that will be coming up next. So stay tuned, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.